Hello, and welcome to Addicted Like Us, a podcast discussing all things written by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I'm your host, Haley, and today I have two very special guests, Krista and Becca, with me to tease Dangerously Ours, Book 3, and the Webs We Weave series. Before we go too far, big spoiler warnings for Dishonestly Yours and Destructively Mine. This is a series of connected books, so please make sure you have read Dishonestly Yours and Destructively Mine before listening to this podcast, because you will be spoiled for both of those books. I just want to say thank you so much, Krista and Becca, for wanting to be on this podcast and talking with me about your books. This is the third teaser episode we've done together, and it means so much that you guys want to participate and sit down and chat with me about these books for a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. We love chatting about the books, so this is just a treat for us.
I'm glad. I bet it's been, when did you write this?
Oh, wow.
Summer of last year?
We wrote it the spring of last year. Summer.
Yeah.
Oh, summer, because July 4th we were still writing it.
Yeah. This one, no, we this one was interesting because we were writing it in different parts. So there was a big process. I feel like we were writing this one over the course of a year though. But we had to stop and start it a bit.
Yeah, for those who don't know, having a traditional publisher, the process is slightly different than indie, and it's also dependent on what traditional publisher you have, because the whole process might be different from publisher to publisher. But there's different phases. There's developmental phase and then an editing phase, and in each phase it's different writing, so it feels like you're starting, stopping, basically.
Yeah. And each editor, they take different amount of time to do their developmental phase. So some are months you're waiting for the book to get back, and some are just a couple weeks. So it's definitely a different stop-start process.
Well, I was gonna say, if it's been a while, I'm sure you guys are, with this whole trad publishing trajectory you guys are on, I can't imagine what it's like to hold in the secrets for so long.
It's so hard. I've already told Krista, it's the minute that we finish the book, I just want everyone to read it. I am here, it's free, just read it. I need other people to be as excited as I am, and it's so difficult to wait.
I really like this one because I feel like it's the conclusion, and I just need everyone to know how everything ends up.
We have all of the answers are technically already out there, just nobody knows what those answers are.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get into some of the questions then. So we left our merry band of heathens in quite a pickle at the end of the last book, i.e. Claudia is dead, killed by Trevor, before she could name Jake the sole heir. Haley is also pregnant, and she has no idea who the baby daddy is, but we know it's either Jake or Oliver. So where are we picking up with Dangerously Ours?
Yeah, Dangerously Ours picks up really close to the end of Destructively Mine. It's only about 1 week since Haley finds out that she's pregnant, and it's about 2 weeks from Claudia's death. So a lot of time hasn't passed. You're sort of thrown right back into the situations, but it's not necessarily as into it as the Dishonestly Yours to Destructively Mine, where it picks up immediately where it left off. It's not like that. There is some time passage.
And so this is I feel like at this point we've kind of gotten to know each of the 7 main characters: Phoebe, Rocky, Jake, Oliver, Nova, Trevor, and Haley. What can we expect as journeys for all of them? What kind of journeys are they all going to be taking in this book?
Yeah, I think when Krista and I really planned this trilogy of sorts, we wanted to feel like every character had sort of their own trajectory and arc and growth and what they were dealing with. And Dangerously Ours really is the culmination for every single character. You see them where they end up after all of all of this change that they've gone through and relationships that have had their like highs and lows. And for Phoebe and Rocky, especially because we get to stay with them for 3 books, Krista and I love to test relationships beyond the initial, oh, they're together, because for us it's like, well, are they going to stay together forever? Like, how believable is that? And we love, writing stories where it shows like, no, these are soulmates. Like, they work so well together. They're going to get through the hard times together. They're going to figure their shit out together. And for Phoebe and Rocky, it's really like, what does their life look like being together and in this new town and living honestly? Like, are they going to live honestly? At the beginning of Dishonestly Yours, Rocky pretty much says, I will never not be a con artist. It's intrinsically a part of me. So Phoebe grappling like with, do I give this up? And if I give this up, how does even a relationship with Rocky work? And you really see what their relationship is going to be, and all the difficult things that they're like discovering and working towards as a couple.
Yeah, I think too, because the series opens up with Dishonestly Yours, and it really is very much focused on Rocky and Phoebe's friendship with Haley. Dangerously Ours is much more so the ensemble book. We did go into it wanting those additional arcs for the side characters to make it feel more like this is like a cohesive like team unit, like the family of it all. So I think that as you get through the series, you get more and more realization that, whoa, this is like a group of people and not just like an isolated type of series.
Yeah. And Phoebe and Rocky too are so interesting because you see their progression from just Rocky in book 1 being like, this is my hang up to be with you. And in Dangerously Ours, we wanted to show like his fears of being with her were sort of justified in a way, and you realize why they were justified. So yeah, I guess that's a little tease about that.
I do think that's such a good point, the way you put it. I've seen with Phoebe and Rocky in particular, and like the way that you guys write books, that like I've seen some people talk about how like when they compare book couples, they're like, oh, did they get divorced after their happily ever afters? And I'm always over here like, I know they don't get divorced in Krista and Becca's books because we see them so far down the line. Like, there's no question soulmates. So I love that you guys write like that, because there's like definitive proof that no, they are soulmates. So that's kind of Phoebe and Rocky's sort of journey through this book. What is the journey for Haley, Jake, and Oliver in this one?
So we love that this book has like a second romance in it, especially because you have their POVs, our additional POVs. So you're really getting like 2 romances in one book. And the baby, like, who is the baby daddy? What do they want out of a relationship? The last thing that you've seen in Destructively Mine is Jake pretty much tells Rocky, I can't have like a serious relationship. And does Rocky want that for his sister? Hell no. He does not want this guy who's like, I can't seriously be with your sister. He would be like, goodbye. Find someone else.
There's the door.
So yeah, it is so interesting because you're like, what is going to happen? How is this going to happen? Which is so different from the other romance storyline going on, because Rocky and Phoebe are together by this point. How is this going to happen? It has already been answered. So it's fun. It's really fun to have 2 different sort of romances dealing with 2 different things playing at once.
Yeah, I think it is really fun that they're at different like timelines in their romances, because I think that gives something for the reader who like wants to see after the HEA, and then the reader who like still wants to see like the initial, how the hell is this gonna work out?
Right. So then that's the main 5. I do remember when I got Nova and I sent a picture to Becca of the kitty, and you were like, I can't wait for you, like, his name is Nova. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to see what Nova's journey is like. What can you tease about him in this book?
Yeah, so we always knew that Nova was gonna have a, a really, really big arc from start to finish. He has a lot of parental issues going on. He starts the series really being sort of a team parents, team Everett, who is Rocky's dad, and he's all for like obeying Rocky's dad, never saying anything wrong about him, but he sort of gets the rug pulled out from under him, and he does like a complete 180, is no longer team parents, is very much like team all of us. At the end of Destructively Mine, he learns that his dad is Varric, who had murdered Rocky's family, and he really has to come to terms with what does that mean for me to be the son of this like terrible dude. And Nova's the one who also has always tried to protect their mom, so it really everything sort of like comes to a head for Nova in his relationship with his dad and his mom in this book.
And then the last one, our little psychopath who did quite a big thing in the last book. What kind of journey is he going to be taking in this book?
Yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
Krista.
I think his journey is probably the most unexpected. I
agree with that.
I feel like going into it, you think one way, and it really, I don't want to like spoil anything, but it definitely, you're gonna see different sides to Trevor, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely like you can kind of tell from the first two books his whole arc has been about wanting to be a part of the team, wanting to be seen by, his siblings and the Graves, and being treated as like an equal and not necessarily someone who's just not worthy to be like one of the best of them. Basically, he wants to be seen as like an asset, and so he's really grappling with like his place within the little merry gang of heathens.
No, I agree. Trevor's journey surprised me. I like no spoilers, but like some of my reactions, I was like, oh, I was not expecting to say this about Trevor. Okay.
Yeah, it's fun when we actually write, especially like big ensemble groups like Webzoo Weave or Cobalt Empire. Before we even start the novel, we list out every single side character and what their journey is actually going to be like in the book, because we know that people aren't stagnant. So just because the romance is going on, we don't really want it to be like, oh, these side characters, all they're doing is chirping about like supporting the romance. We want them to actually have like their own stuff that's going on in the background, because they have their own lives. They're not just there to like uphold the romance. We just like it because it's more interesting. It's how we love ensemble TV shows. I think ensemble TV would be a lot more boring if it was like you had the cast of One Tree Hill and they were all just like worried about like Peyton and Lucas and you didn't know anything about them.
Yes. No, I get that. And like it just makes the world building feel more real. Like yeah, all of these other side characters, their lives don't revolve around the main characters constantly. Like, that's not realistic. All right, so point of view questions. So in the last teaser, I remember asking you guys whether all of the books were going to be about Phoebe, or like going to be following Phoebe and Rocky, and you guys had teased that we would be getting another point of view in this book. And we've come to find out that it's actually 3 additional point of views in this one: Haley, Jake, and Oliver. How long did you know that Jake and Oliver were going to be included in this one?
Yeah, that was not the plan. That was not the plan. The plan was only to add Haley, and we only were going to add her like a couple chapters. Like, the plan was never to make it, like, so heavily, like, 2 romances. It was going to be, like, a little bit of Haley and mostly Phoebe and Rocky. But when we wrote the first draft, we could sense that something was off. So we actually when we went into developmental edits, we hadn't finished the book yet, but we needed to get feedback from our editor. And once we got feedback, our editor was awesome because it was almost like she unlocked things in our brains and we were like, yes. And we sort of restructured the book and we added Jake and Oliver in there. It was exactly what we wanted. We were like, this is it. This is what it always should have been.
Yeah, I think it definitely just like made it more interesting. Like because Rocky and Phoebe, we were like telling their romance like at a different time. I felt like we kind of like yearned for like a different romance as well in it. And like it's such a different, I think it took us a while to get there because it is unconventional to have two different romances in a book. And I think that we almost like needed permission. Like, yes,
yeah,
you can do this. It's weird, but it works.
Yeah, we needed someone to be like, it's okay. Like, this is what needs to like, you can do it.
For your own book, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that kind of answers, well, there's another question. Was there ever a plan to make the book only one point of view, or was it always meant to be 5? So I guess that kind of answers that question.
Yeah. It was never just going to be in Phoebe's, like, Dishonestly Yours was always going to be Phoebe and Rocky. So by this point, I think the plan was always to add Haley. So it was going to be 3, but then it turned into 5 organically, I suppose.
Which point of view was the most fun to write for this book?
I loved reading when Krista wrote Haley. I was like, can I just be like the reader on this? Because I got so giddy. I felt like I got spoiled a lot with her writing the new POVs.
No, you're supposed to answer what was the most fun writing, not
I know. Just think about my fun time reading, okay?
I had the most fun writing Jake. I think that his storyline was just really, really interesting, and his perspective. It honestly, I don't know. I felt like I was kind of writing like Connor again, like a Connor adjacent.
Yeah.
So it felt so different than what we normally write, because Connor is so unique. Like there's like no one like Connor, and so like it was like almost getting there again, and I thought that was really, really fun. For reading wise, anything with Rocky and Phoebe, Becca's stuff, or even I loved reading your Oliver chapters.
Oh yeah.
So
Rocky, okay, so Rocky is the most fun to write. I told Krista by the end, I am going to be so, like, that's the one POV that I am really sad to leave behind and not be able to write again unless we do bonus, because I absolutely love writing Rocky's POV. It's so much fun. He's just I hate everything around me. The salt is just, it can be so humorous. Like he obviously is so angsty, but it can be so funny in a way. I just sometimes, I feel like he turned into a very unique POV that of all the ones we've ever written. So yeah, I've already miss him.
Well, I'm going to encourage bonus. You already know I have a request for plenty of bonus scenes.
Yes, I want to write bonus. There are definitely some scenes that I feel like would be chef's.
Yes. Okay, so what tropes can we expect in this book? And of those, which one is your favorite?
Some of the series tropes are the same in this one. That's like across the series, like morally gray characters, small coastal town, country club elite, found family. But I think like big 2 in this one that are different than like the whole series is probably like secret baby is a big one, and then forced proximity.
Yeah, the forced proximity is my favorite part of this book. I think the whole plot sort of centers around it, and it makes it a lot different than the past 2 in a way, which, I mean, as soon as you read it and realize what the book is, which the blurb doesn't even tell you really what.
Gives me absolutely
Yeah, it gives nothing. It gives nothing. It doesn't tell you what the situation is for Dangerously Ours. And once you realize it, it's really fun. I greatly enjoyed writing it, and I love that aspect of this book.
It was a fun addition. I I mean, it's a fun little surprise. If the blurb can't tell me, it like, I feel like it doesn't take too long into the book for us to get what it is, and it's very interesting, the plan that's all set up for this. Can you tease how long this book is and how it compares to some of your other books?
Yes. So, if you don't know, we go by word count for length because page count isn't really accurate. When a book is formatted, it can turn into however many pages, like font size and all that stuff. So we really keep track of like word count to kind of, we rank our books longest to shortest. And so Dangerously Ours is 144,000 words. And that falls directly in between Fearless Like Us and Infamous Like Us. I think page-wise, it's like mid 560 or 550, somewhere around there. If you've read the
I know this exactly.
five what?
546.
Okay.
With my tabs,
Oh.
I had to do equal ombre for each page, so I was doing the math. So I have that number
It's nuts because
in my head.
sometimes I think of like, oh, a 500-page book is so long, but there's something about like Dangerously Ours just flies for me. I don't know.
It really does.
I think it is because there's so many POVs. It just, yeah, it's like one of those page-turnery books. But
in terms of like the Addicted series, it's bigger than Hot House Flower, but shorter than Addicted for now. So that's kind of where it ends up.
And I think it is the longest of the three in the Webs We Weave series.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the longest.
Yeah, it goes Dishonestly Yours, then Destructively Mine, then Dangerously Ours, which doesn't always happen for us, but I feel like that's like a natural thing, like a series just getting like a little bit bigger as it goes on.
Yeah. I feel like, would you say that's also because, I mean, this was wrapping it up and just like trying to fit in everything you want? Because we may not continue after this.
Yeah, conclusions are always hard because we have like a list of things that we knew they were open-ended that needed to be closed. So all the little strings that needed to be tied up.
That's almost why like the Cobalt Empire books are so big, because they are like intros and conclusions.
Yeah.
I won't complain.
And we, like we said at the top of the podcast, we have this inherent desire to see after they sort of get together. So we cannot stop ourselves from like, the book will not end at they're together.
Right. All right. So you guys have talked about how difficult it was writing Destructively Mine, that like it needed to be completely reshaped. And I think it was like the scene on the boat with Carter was like originally towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
So how did that wind up affecting like shaping this plot at all?
It made this one a puzzle. I feel like this one and that one were a true puzzle because a lot of the things that we had planned were supposed to go in that book, and then we were like, okay, we've got to figure out how to reweave it into this book because the plan had changed. It involved a lot of like switching things around and trying to figure out the pacing, which is why this series is so much more complicated to write, I think, than any other book that we've written. Krista, would you agree?
No, 1,000%. I think trying to figure out where to start the book was the hardest part. Like where to like initiate like the beginning. Because I think we had all the pieces, but trying to figure out how to layer it in a like cohesive but also enjoyable way was the most difficult thing about it.
I mean, it's so wild to think about that I don't even want to spoil it, but there's one chapter that actually was the first chapter of the book, and the book Dangerously Ours originally was like a month later, not like just a week from the beginning. And we had we took that chapter and like put it somewhere else and sort of retweaked it and what it meant. I don't want to spoil what it is because I don't want people to read it and go, "Oh, this is that chapter." But maybe later down the line we'll talk about it less.
Yeah,
vaguely.
it was all, like, I don't want to say Frankenstein because it makes it sound like the book is in like but it was
It's
really
not.
like shifting. It was
Things.
definitely like a puzzle because it was like taking something from the beginning, putting it in the middle, taking the middle, putting it in the beginning. And like we don't usually write like that. Like we're very much like chronological writers, and if something doesn't work, it just gets deleted and we rewrite something else. So like doing that was definitely different for us, but it ultimately made the book really, really good. And I feel like the pacing was fixed by kind of like reordering things.
Yeah, we had the flashback chapter, which you can actually read it in at the end of Destructively Mine. It exists at the end of Destructively Mine, but it is not the first chapter of Dangerously Ours anymore. You will read that chapter within Dangerously Ours, but it's going to come at a different point. And that was something that we had to wrestle with, was like, well, people have already read that. If they've read it at the end of Destructively Mine, should we shift it? And the ultimate thing was like, yes, because we knew for pacing it shouldn't have been the first chapter. So yeah, that's like how the sausage is made. This one's a little, it's messier than normal.
That kind of leads me into my next question of which book in the series was the easiest to write, like which one the story
Dishonestly
just, like, fell out
Yours,
of you.
hands down. Dishonestly Yours almost wrote itself, I think, because we had all these ideas. We kind of knew the structure. We had this entire idea was like our childhood concepts to begin with. We had written the Reign of Spiders when we were like in high school, so we kind of knew what we wanted the book to be. So yeah, that one was so much easier. And a first book in a series where you're going to stay with the same characters, you can hold on to so much information. You don't even have to drop that much information. You don't have to figure it out. I mean, we obviously knew what everything was going to, but like we didn't have to figure out how to tell the reader all of these things or show the reader these things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've already got that. I really love getting the flashbacks to the cons, so we are going to be getting more flashbacks in Dangerously Ours.
Yes, I was just talking to Krista about this the other day. I told her I love how the flashbacks in every single book sort of, they show something different. They do something different for each book. In the first book, they're there to show you how they all worked as con artists together, because essentially Phoebe and Haley are quitting, this life of grifting, but we needed you to see what their lives were like, not just them say it. Like we wanted you to visually see them actually enacting cons, and like this is what their lives have been like. So that's why those flashbacks existed in book 1. And book 2, you're seeing sort of different parts of their relationships through the flashbacks. They're not necessarily to show you about the cons, but like the in-between parts of them and the sort of relationship dynamics. And then the third book, the reason for the flashback is a very specific, and I won't spoil it, but it's literally one of my favorite parts of the whole book. And this book, we had this thing we always knew was like gonna be sort of the pinnacle for Rocky and Phoebe, and sort of like I can't talk about it without spoiling it, but would you agree, Krista?
Yeah, no, and it is a really important flashback for, I would say it's like a parallel. So like it is like a really important flashback specifically for Dangerously Ours. And I love how you said that like they're all kind of there to serve a different purpose. And my favorite purpose for the Dishonestly Yours ones was really like showing Oliver and Nova through the flashbacks, like, and Trevor before you see them at the end of the book, because I just feel like it's just, you feel like this connection towards these people before they come in real time. And I love that aspect because that's something that our favorite TV shows, the originals, did. So we kind of
Yeah.
use the same dynamic.
It makes me love all of the characters so much. There's like, I do like that because before we even get the additional point of views from Jake, Oliver, and Haley, like I do feel pretty connected to them, getting to see all of the different aspects of their lives outside of just them and Victoria. Like, we do get to see so much more of them because of the flashbacks, which is always fun. That's why I love them. So one of the other things that I really enjoyed learning about in Destructively Mine was that Jake and Haley are in a book club together. Will we get to see any of this book club in this book?
Yes. Yes, you will. That was one thing that I'm so glad didn't end up on the cutting room floor. We were like, it was always in our thing. We were like, the book club, the book club. Yeah.
Okay. Also, in Dishonestly Yours, we got to see the Harvest Festival. In Destructively Mine, we got the hunt. Will we see any more big events that are kind of similar in Dangerously Ours?
You will, but I would say the country club hosting the event isn't the biggest one, possibly. There are things going on with one of the villains in this book that is causing a lot of chaos, and it's causing a lot of a headache for Jake, and that is really the central event, I would say.
So, will we find out who the father of Haley's baby is?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Is there a certain scene or chapter that you're most looking forward to readers reaching?
Yes, I have many. I don't know how to say things without spoiling them, but there's like a motel stuff, and sometimes I literally will just open my ARC and go read those chapters. There's like a set of chapters. I don't know why, but like I just love those chapters. And there's this isn't a big event. I know we're just talking about the big events, but the whole plot of Dangerously Ours is like it's like something wealthy. I don't know how I describe this without spoiling it, but there is something going on that is very like wealth, elite, country club-esque, central, and there's like little events within that, and I love rereading like all of those. The epilogue, like I think like I just want everyone to know how it like ends, like, you know.
No, I was thinking it was very funny that you were talking about those scenes though, and like I have literal entire pages of that, and then like the last 3 chapters, including the epilogue, the entire thing is highlighted.
Yeah, when you sent us your highlights, your full page highlights of the motel chapters, I started laughing almost because I literally just picked up my ARC to specifically reread those.
They're so good.
I call them the motel vending machine chapters.
Like, that was the specific that
yes.
scene. That was it. It's one of my favorites. So I think when you were like, I really love Becca writing the Oliver chapters, I agree. I really enjoyed reading the Oliver chapters too.
I remember the first draft of that. I was like, Krista, is this okay? And she was like sending me Teams messages, and she was like, she was like freaking out, and I did not expect it at all. I was like, keep going. What are you doing messaging?
Okay, so now we know that the strawberry on the cover of Dishonestly Yours was for Phoebe's love of strawberries. The mountain laurel on Destructively Mine is kind of like the logo for VCC, but also you sneaks with your weapon, the thing that killed Claudia, also on the cover of the book. What can you tease about the locket on this cover?
So, you've actually seen a heart-shaped locket in Destructively Mine. It's worn by a certain someone. So, if you have the ebook, you could probably go search it and find it. But that's sort of the connection there, and it plays a bigger meaning throughout. You'll also see like the flowers show up. We love incorporating the book cover elements into the actual narrative. It's one of my favorite things.
I really like this cover. I love the I love the spider web inside the locket. That's
Yes.
pretty.
I think it's honestly probably in my like top 3 favorite covers of ours. Definitely my favorite cover of the series.
Yeah, I am so happy with all 3 covers. They're so, so pretty.
They
I
look
honestly can't
so
imagine.
pretty next to each other. I
Yeah,
see them.
I literally can't imagine like a different like set of covers because I feel like the colors even sort of like fit them. It's like a little bit dark and moody, but I don't know, still the gold. It is just perfect for the whole series.
I agree. Um, oh, I skipped this one. So we didn't really do a spoiler section for the last Webs We Weave teaser, so I could not bring it up then. But I am curious now. You had quite a few wolf-related songs in your playlists for both books, and I feel like that was a sneaky tease towards Rocky being a wolf. Do you have any kind of, maybe not similar Easter eggs, but other Easter eggs planted anywhere to tease for this one?
It's hard. I mean, there are little things I think in Destructively Mine that sort of like will make sense if you do like a whole reread after you read Dangerously Ours. But when we do the playlist too, there are going to be songs on the playlist that are actually in the novel, and sort of Rocky will comment on the song. And I just, I love it so much. I just get a kick out of it because I think the songs have always been such a big part of the series because of Jake's ringtones, and it's sort of that isn't dropped. You see that again in this book, which I love.
I have questions about that for later. So, we've seen some little cameos from the Addicted series popping up in the first 2 books. Can we expect to see any more in Dangerously Ours?
Yes. And we're not going to say who, but I would say this book has like the biggest crossover of all 2 books. This has the most crossover impact.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. So we've talked yes. The answer should be yes. Do you plan to write bonus scenes for Patreon for the series? I want that answer to be yes, please. Have you seen any theories for couples or plot points, like plot point guesses from readers that surprised you that are wrong, or if you're willing to say are true?
I haven't seen too many theories. Have you, Becca?
I've seen theories about Haley,
Yeah.
and Oliver.
I think that's
And I
most
think
of
they're
what
all across
people-
the board. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say, like, of course some people are right because I feel like I've seen everything. So someone has to be right out of there. But yeah, I would say there are more theories for Silver Sweet, which is Cobalt Empire #2, that are wrong.
I am very much, I think that's going to be the episode after this. When I post these, I really want to do a Silver Sweet fan theory episode.
Oh,
and
I would
talk
love
about
to
them.
listen to that.
Okay.
Oh, me too.
So you two have talked about the writing process being like a body. Has any of it changed being traditionally published and having different deadlines?
I think for this series in particular, just because the way it worked with the time the developmental edits took, it just felt more like usually the like making a body is like we put the organs in, we put the skin on, the details. This one felt like as soon as we put the skin on, we had to like flay the body and then reorganize the organs and then it felt like it went through surgery, right? Like
Yeah, it went through some plastic surgery. For real. I think we've talked about this before, but we typically don't have a developmental editor in our process. So we never have a third voice giving us feedback on the story and plot and things like that. it's really just me and Krista bouncing ideas off of each other and coming up with a story and collaborating. So to have a third voice collaborating with us was very, very, very new for this series. And I do think that it made the books, I don't want to say better because I do think that Krista and I work great, like just ourselves. And I don't think that having a third person would make all of our books better. But I think that it just was a different process. So it was us trying to figure out like we realized for this book, I know this is like I'm not speaking in coherent sentences, but we realized for Dangerously Ours, the best way to do it was to not finish the novel before giving it to a developmental editor, because that way we get feedback and the book isn't all the way done, and we can, we don't have to, like Krista said, flay the body and then readjust the organs and then put the skin back on. It's like, okay, the body is like still open. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, because there are two of us, we're basically each other's editors, like as we go through the book. Like we're editing as we write. We constantly read each other's stuff. We're telling each other to change things. So it really is different having another one of us, because it's another one of us at the end of the process when it's already been done before that. And hitting that, it was really, really a struggle. But all of our books usually go through multiple rounds of like copy editing, line editing, proofreading. So like, not to say we don't have editors, it's just that the development of the editor was really, really hard.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, like developmental editors are there to give feedback about like story and stuff. They're not like proofreading the book. They're helping you with like pacing, storylines, cutting things down, things like that, arcs. And yeah, so it, like I said, like I really, really enjoyed having that for Dangerously Ours when we both were stumped and we were like, something's not right, and to have a third person be like, this is my suggestion, and it was really brilliant, and we were like, okay, that like solves the issue. So yeah, it definitely was a boon to Dangerously Ours to have her.
But it was
on this.
great. I think it was great realizing, like, now, like, as writers, like, if we do have a developmental editor again, like, when we would need them in our process. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
it was definitely, like,
A learning
a
experience.
learning experience, yeah.
Do you think that's like, well, I guess you haven't been writing too many indie books, but do you think like if you were to publish an indie book, like you've taken enough suggestions from developmental editors at this point to like preemptively know what kind of suggestions they might give, and like maybe that's improved your writing some?
I don't know, because it's like every single developmental editor,
Their style is also very different.
yeah,
Like, multiple now, so, like, it's just...
it's
they're
what
all
someone
different.
prefers. It's literally what someone prefers. Like, it's all preference. So I think that's why it's really important to know that, like, if you're developmental editor, you click with them, like, you like the same things. Like, I loved our editor so much when one of her notes back to us was like, just make them kiss. Just make it spicier. Just, like, go there. Like, they just need to go there. And I was like,
We can do that.
I love this feedback. Because it's something that I think, wouldn't have expected. I don't know. I didn't expect it, like, being trad published, that it was like, yeah, let's a little bit more. And I think that I'm sure that there are other editors that prefer, less spice, but that's why I think, like, it's all, like, sort of, like, preference. But I'm sure there are some too that are like absolutely like wizards at pacing and just like can look at a book and be like, this should be chunked out. This would make this faster. And some people are like, Krista's really good at pacing. I'm not as good as Krista at pacing. That's why I like default to Krista. I'm like, did I just make this chapter really?
I love your stuff, but see, that's our strengths and weaknesses are completely different between me and Becca, which is like why we work so well. Like, I'm not as good at the detail, and she's so good at providing like more detail and like really grounding it. So I think that we just work really well together.
I agree. I think your writing definitely reflects how well you two work as a team. Okay, so what was the most bittersweet moment writing Dangerously Ours?
Definitely the end. The end was so bittersweet. It's one of those things that we knew, okay, we got to conclude it. Like, how the epilogue is one of my favorite epilogues we've ever written. And it was one of those things where we were writing it, and I looked at Krista and I was like, we can leave this slightly open-ended if we go this way with it, or do we just not make that happen and we don't leave like a little bit of like sort of like what, if you're watching a television show at the end of the series, it would be like this little moment of like, oh my gosh, I know what the next season would be. But we decided not to do that because we didn't know if we would ever be able to revisit Webs We Weave. And it's that we didn't want to look back and be like, there's a loose thread. So we really, really made this as satisfying closure as possible.
And I still feel like there is a way, like, if we, like, down the line wanted to go back, like, we could still go back. Like, I don't feel like we needed to leave, like, a hanging thread in order to, like, return if we wanted to.
We would still do the same thing that the hanging thread would have been. We're just not we didn't tease it.
Yeah.
I was getting worried for a second, like, did I completely miss a tease in the end? Okay, so teasing the ending, how many HEAs are we getting? I feel like this is more leaning towards Haley, so I don't know how much you want to speak on, I think, the question.
We'll say it is a romance series, and every romance is required to have an HEA. So we will say the romances have HEAs.
Okay, I think that's satisfying enough. Do you think a majority of fans will be happy or sad about the ending?
I think happy. I think that this is one of those endings where every time I reread Dangerously Ours and I get to the end, it's just so fulfilling. Like, it just leaves you with such a, wow, I went on this 3-book ride and it was worth it. And that's exactly what we wanted you to feel by the end, was like, damn, like, and I think we accomplished it.
I think you did too. Okay, and then you've kind of brought it up a little. There were quite a few questions asking about the future of the series after this book. Do you have any plans to write future books for any of the other characters?
We don't have plans, but if this series somehow takes off more, now that there's 3 out, if something were to happen down the line, and we would definitely, in a heartbeat, return and add a 4th book.
Yeah, I think it just would have to find a bigger readership than it currently has. Like, and not to say it won't, because a lot of our books do take 3 to 4 books before they gain, like, the bigger readership and momentum. So we are hopeful more people will pick it up, especially now that all the books are out. So never say never.
Yeah.
Yes. Listeners, do our thing. Promote the book, please. Hype it up.
And I swear, if there's any of our books that would be a perfect TV series, it's this series. I would die if this was a TV show. It lends, the entire first book is already written. The TV show is right there. So this series, whatever producers listening, it's great.
Please.
That's my pitch.
Okay. So if you could describe Dangerously Ours in 3 words, what would they be?
Satisfying would definitely be one.
I think angsty. I think they're all angsty, but I think that this one has high angst.
Yeah. I think thrilling, angsty, and satisfying.
I think that encompasses it. All right. And then I was going to say this is our last spoiler-free question, but then I wrote it as not sure if it's more of a spoiler question. Is there a certain dynamic in the platonic relationships that you found most fun to write? Like, do you find any of them challenging between, like, Phoebe, Haley, Jake, Rocky, Trevor, Rocky, Nova, any of those combinations?
I didn't find any of them challenging, but I absolutely loved writing them. I love Jake and Rocky's relationship progression from book 1 to the end. Their last chapter sort of together is one of my favorite chapters too. They have this moment, and it hits me in the gut every time I read it, because I think that the reader will understand what the whole series is at that point, and especially what Dangerously Ours was. If it didn't register, it's like at that moment, I think when they're having this conversation, it like sort of like dawns on you. And yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes in the entire book. And then I love Rocky and Nova because they have such a complex history, and it's really showcased from start to finish as well.
Yeah, I think my favorite, or the most fun for me to write is Phoebe and Haley, especially in Dangerously Ours.
I think Haley and Phoebe, that one was like their whole journey as friends in this book was probably one of the more heart-wrenching journeys to go on. And then Jake and Rocky were also one of my favorites in this. I don't know if it's a spoiler to say that Rocky has like a little nickname that he gives Jake, and I love it every time it comes up. Those are so cute. Okay, so we are going to conclude here, and until the next episode, continue to stay addicted to Krista and Becca's writing like us.